Hey y'all, Jim here with Sunrise Farm. Thanks so much for stopping by. I thought in today's video we would just kind of run through a garden update. It is Tuesday, December 3rd. It's in the morning time, and I must say, as you can tell by my outerwear here, for us down here in lower part of South Carolina, it is cold. So today is quite cool. I think it was 29 this morning. It still is morning. It's only about mid 30s now, but it's also very breezy, which anyone who has ever been in the cold and in the breezy wind will tell you that that makes it even colder, kind of bone chilling. Yes, I know for you folks up north, 29 in is just almost summer weather for y'all. I get it. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania as a young person, so yes, I understand. Anyway, so let me get started. I'm standing here behind my bed of garlic, and I actually have some parsnips that are just now sprouting up. But let me just show you what we got going on, give you a quick garden tour. So, what y'all can see right here, if you happen to watch my garlic planting video, this is where we planted, I think it was 97 cloves of garlic. And it didn't take them but about 3 or 4 days, and all of them, every single one of them started to sprout. So even if we've got some small bulbs in there, which we do, we're going to have what appears to be, we're off and running at any rate, to a very nice garlic harvest. As you can see, these are sprouting quite beautifully. And then over here, it's hard to see. Maybe you can see those little tiny green leaves coming up everywhere. That's parsnips. So far, the parsnips have started to germinate and come up, and they're looking great. It's my first time growing parsnips. I actually, this year we started doing a farmer's market here in our community, and I was actually requested to grow these. Some customers of ours that are from up north are used to parsnips, and they say they can't find them anywhere down south. Not one farmer grows them, and they can't hardly find them in stores either. So they requested that I grow them. So when you're asked to do something and you want to help out the community and meet the public demand, you give them a whirl. So we're growing parsnips for the first time, but realistically, everything I've read, studied, and understand, they're pretty much identical to growing carrots. They're in the same type family. They have the same type growth habit with a long tap root, which becomes the vegetable, of course. So anyway, we're going to see what we get with them. They're a long process, about 4 months to grow these things out. But yep, let's just see what happens there, and let's keep moving on. So here we are in my back plot, the one directly off my back porch, where kind of sort of my garden begins, if you will. And this bed right here that you can see, this is where we had some Hosinator tomatoes. You can still see them just laying down in there now. But we've had frost for the past 2 nights, pretty significant frost, all the way down to, like I said, 26 one night, and today was 29. But as you can see, it's done a pretty thorough job of killing out those tomato plants, which is good. In this back plot, I'm getting ready to start retuning the whole back plot area to put in permanent raised rows and raised beds. I'll finish off this raised bed, and then I'll finish off that raised bed, and both of these will end up looking like the one in the background there where I have some carrots and I planted those strawberries. And right here you can see where I've started laying out from one of my permanent raised rows, and I'll be putting in two 2x4s high, or 7 inches, so that my permanent raised rows will be 7 inches deep. And if I pan this way, you can see the permanent raised rows I had put in quickly at the beginning of the fall season with the compost. I still have to frame these in, but I have some kale. I still have some broccoli that I've been covering for the last few nights. As you can see, I've got some really nice broccoli heads. You can see the size of my hand. Pretty big broccoli heads. I've got a few of those. So I've got this kale broccoli. In the back of this broccoli, I've got some arugula and mustard. I've got these turnips. And as I said, these 3 raised rows will all get framed in and then completely filled when we get more compost to 7 inches deep. So all my raised rows will be 7 inches. And what will that framed in look like? I'm going to show you. Now I'll quickly say all this stuff in my back plot. Of course, all the spring stuff we still had in here, those tomatoes, some okra, and even a few odds and ends cucumbers. We grew them all the way up to just a couple of weeks ago, to be honest with you, because we didn't get our first frost until just a few days ago. So all of that I've been cleaning out. All of this, the broccoli, the kale, the turnips, and some radishes even, mustard and arugula. This coming Saturday is the last market of the year for us, and our market doesn't start until May, the first weekend in May. So instead of fighting all of this, I'm going to wait. I'm going to harvest it all for our last market. I'm going to pull everything out that that doesn't need to be there, and that way I can have free access to get all of this back plot completely done over the next couple of weeks. But let me show you what the framed in bed looks like. And then later on, as I get into doing more and more, and quite frankly when it's a little warmer, but when I get into doing more and more of the framed raised rows, I'll show you the process. But so you can stay tuned for that. But let me show you over here where we continue with the garden, and it got some layout going on. So there's some old mustard in there that I'm not worried about, and then there's some carrots in there. Those carrots will get all harvested for this weekend, and that'll be the final run of those. And down there, that 2/3 of that bed, if you didn't watch my strawberry planting video, you can go back and watch it, but that is where I planted all my strawberries. I also have restarted some onions because I had some issues with my onions growing out in my trays. So I just restarted them in that bed, and I'll transfer them out later when I can space them out properly once I get a few more of these beds made. But here's a couple of rows of okra, which you can barely see now. They're nothing more than basically a stick sticking out of the ground. So I'll be pulling all of them. My Brussels sprouts. This is the second time I've grown Brussels sprouts. This is better than the first time, but still no bueno. I'm not getting any Brussels sprouts. They're just kind of just sitting there doing nothing. So hopefully when I grow Brussels sprouts in the springtime, the third time will be the charm. And that was where I was using cattle panel as an experiment trellising system for some Marglobe tomatoes. I'll say this, I won't do it again personally, but does it work? Yes. I'm not a big fan of the cattle panel for those particular kind of tomatoes. So anyways, and then I've got some leftover broccoli here. It's just basically sitting there waiting to be cut out. There's no more heads on it really. Then I've got some collards in this bed. They'll get all harvested out for this final weekend. And as you can see down at ground level, right in there, I've started putting my stakes in, and they're staked all the way at the other end as well. Probably can't see them in that shot. So that my beds are kind of laid out, my beds and walkways. So when you come down here, you can see how I framed out this raised row. So this raised row is 36 inches wide, and it's 7 inches deep. This one is 100% filled with compost. This is the only raised row I've actually finished this way, but all of them that I'm going to be laying out, which is the vast majority of my garden, is going to be this way. And so there was a raised row that I had just quickly prepped so I could get some planting into. It's got some lettuce in it, some cabbage in it, and down at the far end it's got some celery in it. And then I put together this bed here, this raised bed. It's kind of sort of an experiment. Yes, it looks weird, but they're actually floor trusses. So this is one of the areas that if you have access to a truss company or some other lumber yards or others that have bad lumber, one-off lumber, or something that was ordered by a customer that they couldn't sell for whatever reason, you can normally get some really great deals on beds, on lumber like this. So these floor trusses, which I have a whole bunch more of, we're going to make several raised beds. They're 18-inch floor trusses, and I made this bed 50 foot long, 4 foot wide, and I've just got it filled with leaf mulch right now, but I'm waiting for that in the beginning of the season for that leaf mulch to compact, and then I'll put some compost in there. But then as I go on out towards the rest of my farm, there's some of those floor trusses over there. There's some off in the distance down there. Of course, way out there in the front of my yard is one of my massive piles of leaf mulch. And that's how I filled this bed. I mean, it's too chunky right now for the general planting of things. But I do actually have, at the very end, about 20 or so giant collard plants that I just wanted to see what's going to happen in that type of material. So we're going to see. Now you may be wondering, those open web truss joists like that, first of all, I lined the interior with a weed barrier in order for it to hold. But you may be curious or worried about those metal plates. I don't think those metal plates will end up being a problem. First of all, they're protected inside from even touching the ground. Outside, we will eventually come back and maybe dress it up with some like T111 siding or something like that. And then down here, I have an experimental kind of bed, if you will. First time I'm growing celery. And also wanted to see, I've got a couple of different plant spacings going on. One in this bed and one in the other little raised row right beside it there. Off in the distance, you can see it down there. But so I'm just doing a couple of different experiments of celery spacing to see what I can get growing. I will regrow this in the spring for my market. Now some of this might survive to the market, but it's another part of the experiment. I know celery can handle cold. I just don't know how well they'll handle continuous frost. Honestly, so far they've handled it very well. They look like they're dead in the morning, but they seem to come back pretty quickly. So, all right, folks. Well, that's the end of our quick garden update. Hopefully, y'all found it interesting. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave those. I always like to hear from y'all and know what y'all have to say and think about stuff. Like I said, we've got a lot of changes going on. This stems all the way back from Tropical Storm Debbie in the middle of summer when it basically wiped us out. We don't have flooding issues per se, but we had so much saturation of water and some standing water that it took out over 300 pepper plants of a few varieties. Took out every single pepper plant we had: cayenne, bell, jalapeno, habanero. Took every single one of them out, drowned them out. Lost a lot of our tomatoes to disease, and yeah, it's been a little bit of a rough year, but I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged to keep going, to make a real true market farm style. Now that I've kind of got my bearings on what's going on here, we're heading into 2025, which will be year 3 for us in gardening, farming, if you will, market farming. And so I'm going to have these permanent raised rows. I'm going to have some permanent trellis systems, all of which I'll do independent videos on, and you'll see as I'm going forward how how we designed that out. Of course, I've got these giant raised beds I'm doing, and yeah, so anyway, I just thank you so much for watching this video. And if I could humbly ask for you to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification to get notified of when we put out more videos, I'd greatly appreciate it. As always, you are a tremendous blessing to me and to my family for taking your time to watch this video. Thank you so much. Take care. God bless you. Have an amazing day in the Lord, and we'll see you next time.